Hello, and good afternoon, everyone. We are almost ready to get started. Just to let you know that this session will be recorded and it will become available at managept.org website. So if anyone you know didn't make it, or if you want to come back to these topics, it will then be available for you later on as well. My name is Lotta Koskimies, and I am delighted to welcome you to this October webinar, where we'll be addressing planning and managing demand and what's new related to that. But before we get there, let's have a look at the agenda and talk a bit in general about Business Technology Standard and Business Technology Forum. And today I will be introducing you how this model is evergreen, like many of you might know already. We'll have a little bit look at the structure of business technology standards. So there is something new there. We have added something and made it a bit clearer to navigate. And we'll also get to know our AI fellow, Otso. Hopefully some of you have already become acquainted with him. But if you haven't yet, now is a good opportunity to get introduced. After the introduction, then my colleague Elena van Lemput will start with presenting planning and managing demand. She will talk about demand management versus demand planning. How are those two different from one another? What about then the artifacts related to demand? What are they? And how we can identify the 4 different sources of demand and how do the value streams interconnect with demand? So these are our topics for the next 45 minutes. So let's get started. So Business Technology Forum is the entity that is developing and co-creating a business technology standard together with a community of businesses, public sector organizations, and universities. It is a unique operating model, and it has been developed with over 50 different companies and organizations. Like mentioned, in our development community, we also have universities such as King's College London and Aalto University from Finland, who are sharing their experiences in the use of business technology standard. The operating model is an umbrella model, so it is completely suitable to adapt even when you are already compliant with SAFe or ITIL or other expert models. So it really is an umbrella that is completely suitable to provide the big picture and manage all the disciplines of business technology.
Sorry, Lotta, can I just ask if we are sharing any slides?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
And then a bit about what does the business technology standard framework consist of? So we have these 4 fundamental pictures. If we start at the upper left-hand corner, we have the mindset model. There is the digital frontline, technology backbone, and then the transformation of business capabilities. So it is really a mindset of understanding these 3 dimensions related to business technology. Then on the right upper hand corner, we have the capability model. So the capabilities relate to different disciplines. So there are 5 disciplines color-coded, as you can see in the picture, and altogether 28 capabilities. And when navigating to the managebt.org website, all these capabilities are explained to the detail, and they are available for anyone to learn and utilize to improve the business technology operations. On the lower right-hand side, we have the roles and responsibilities. So they are defined clearly in the model and also color-coded in accordance with the rest of the model. The different roles have career identities defining the passion, mission, and key measurements. Also, they are detailed to more specific areas of responsibilities. So they support implementing the operating model when we have clear role definitions as well. Then finally, on the left-hand lower corner, we have the operating model. So how does actually the entire value creation with business technology happen? And this explains from left to the right the value-adding disciplines, but also how to plan, build, and run the services related to the business technology. So this is really a holistic approach, and it is continuously updated, like we will hear today from Elena with the latest additions to the demand discipline. Now, as I mentioned, there is something new to how the business technology standard is structured. And maybe the left-hand side illustration can be looked at as a bookshelf. So you have 3 books lying on their side. In the middle, there is the capabilities in business technology standard. You can see the 2 different icons on this green bar next to the capabilities. And this is the book that is freely available at managebt.org for anyone to use. And there is also 2 additions above that. So there is the value creation with business technology operating model, as well as the essentials of the operating model for business and technology development. So those are additions that have been developed recently, relying also on the support of AI. Then underneath the capabilities in BTS, we can see the colorful books from business technology strategy all the way to data governance. So those are then the books that we also call the extensions. So they explain in more detail how those specific areas can be developed and what good practices there are to rely on. This altogether is called the stack of knowledge, encompassing the numerous guides. So maybe this helps kind of to understand what there is when we talk about the business technology standard. So there are the capabilities which are freely available for anyone online at any time, and then additional materials that can be acquired via trainings, for example. Then to our friendly Otso AI bot. So Otso has been developed to support the use of business technology standard, and Otso lives also on managebt.org website. And Otso can help as a knowledgeable assistant with questions related to business technology standard management or business technology management in general. It can, for example, help to understand how do different roles interconnect. What about portfolios or minimum viable governance? And it's really quite a wizard as a support fellow. So I warmly recommend to discuss with Otso. He's also knowledgeable in languages, so you can try it in Finnish or English or in other languages as well. As I mentioned, related to the bookshelf picture, there are materials that are freely available on our website at all times, but then there are more specific, detailed guides that then require deeper understanding to work with. And to acquire that knowledge and to support also deployment of those best practices, we provide different training paths at the Business Technology Forum. So on the left-hand side on this slide, we have the Business Technology Green Card, and that is completely freely available for anyone. It is an online test that you can subscribe from us. And after that, you are qualified also to take part in other trainings that we organize in our nice training center in Malaga. Surprise, surprise, the November training is already fully booked, but but luckily there are upcoming opportunities also next year, starting in March. So there are deep dive to different areas. For example, business technology standard operating model. How does the governance and the portfolios function? What about then the business design related to demand, or then end-to-end development or service governance, or then data governance? So all these different areas are then addressed in these 2-day trainings. After these qualifications that are quite low threshold to access, but provide comprehensive knowledge, then you also gain access to the expert materials that were those colorful books in the bookshelf picture. Maybe with this introduction, I might then hand on to Elena van Lembut. Are you, Elena, ready to start introducing us to the planning and managing demand and what's new with that?
Yes, thank you so much, Lotta. I'm going to share the screen now. And I will share that. I hope that now is showing as well.
Yes, now we can see your screen.
Thank you for confirming. All right. Very good. So my name is Elena van Lembut. Some of you may already know me. I'm working for the VT Forum, and I also manage this VT standard as a product. And today I just want to perhaps show you some things. No, that just got worse. Sorry. Show you and tell you about the newest guide, which is the planning and managing demand. And before I do that, however, just a few words about why we actually created this guide. So previously, I mean, demand planning and managing is not a new thing, but it has been, of course, incorporated in many of the other guides. And when we say plan, build, and run, you naturally would have the plan there as well. But we have not like created a separate guide for it before. And now, more than ever, many organizations are in need of understanding further how planning and managing demand works. And so now we wanted to have like a better guide for different organizations in this respect. So let's see what is in this guide. I'm going to give you a little bit of overview first. So in this guide, of course, we have several, always by default, have several things that are common to all guides. And then within this guide, what we have in here are the different demand types. If you know these capability planning, ideas and concepts, improvements and service changes and so on, then we have value streams, and then the approach for business design and demand planning, the human-centered planning, governance and roles. So this is what we highlight in this guide. And what we have here essentially is opening up the demand discipline. And in demand discipline, like you would expect, we have the capabilities, which is the red part here of the capability model. And these capabilities, there are 8 of them, and they're actually divided into planning and managing. And so this perspective that we have for demand discipline is also mainly from the business perspective. So how can business be involved in technology and vice versa? How can technology be involved in planning and so on? We have the 8 different capabilities, and the first 5 here are essentially focused on demand planning, and then the rest are development, portfolio, data assets, and integration service portfolio. These are belonging to the demand management. And why this distinction? Essentially, what we're saying is that if we have demand planning and demand management. Mainly demand planning is driven by the business and demand management is driven by technology, by IT. So this is a good distinction to understand so that we're able to be in the demand planning early enough if you're in the IT or technology side, and then vice versa. How can you basically turn and prioritize all this demand when you are managing it in the latter part. So if you see, this is quite a good picture that essentially describes this demand planning part, where we have development request as a mid threshold point, and then demand management happens essentially after that. Then I wanted to highlight the flow. So demand flow here, we have renewed this illustration, this picture, and when we have here in capability planning, one of the demand types, we have the human-centered capability planning and the procedural capability planning, which is known as the enterprise architecture. And if you look at this, you can see that the human-centered planning is actually preceding this procedural planning. And that's how we would like to basically open this up and in that way have considerations for the human sort of human approach, human-centric or human orientation inside the capability planning as well. And this guide has both the instructions for human-centered capability planning and as well as the, for example, user journey, which I will show you soon. And so that's a part of the introduction to this item. Then if you look at this one, this is a very good illustration of what is the business role, how can business be involved in, for example, doing this demand discipline. What is their role in it? And here we have 5 different roles, and including the enterprise architect as well, who at this point is like supporting and directing, guiding the capability planning. And if you look at this picture below, we essentially begin with the business capability owner, who is the one that's initiating all of this and has ownership of that particular capability. In demand planning, their role is essentially to be owning the business design itself. So their involvement in business design is very important. The more we focus on their requirements here at the beginning, the less issues or challenges we'll have when we go towards development. So business analyst is one role that we also highlight here. So BTS essentially defines the business analyst as a more senior role. So the seniority here is most organizations might find it an issue if they have business analyst as a more junior role. But however, here we define it as quite a central key role for essentially tackling the plan and the design and the business requirements. This person may also know, for example, some technology, but also needs to know a lot of business requirements and so on. And so they are the ones facilitating this business design process. And we also have business owners, and then the product owner, as you see here, if it's a product. So these are the different roles that we have involving the business. And then we have artifacts like development initiative, development request. These are key artifacts for demand planning, as when you do a rational business design, you are creating input to development initiative, which is then something that is approved by the portfolio, or let's say, because we're talking about capability planning. So this is something that requires, for example, security analysis, data, features, different type of enterprise architecture analysis, and so on. So it has to go through some level of portfolio management, and they are the ones looking into these development initiatives. After that has been approved, it will be created into Epic. So business analyst and business owner will help that before it goes to development request. So there's something that you need to still do to get those requirements in. In demand management, as you can see, we're now talking about having the epics broken down into features and into stories for the backlog for the development team and so on. One other thing that I want to highlight here is the epic completeness report, epic demo, and so on. When we're talking about business, their role is essentially to understand what has happened to the epic that they have put into development. And they're not so much interested in story level or necessarily feature level. That's something that the product owner and the team takes care of. For them, it's important to know what happened to their epics as a whole, the solution, the service that comes out of it. So that's why we introduce these new artifacts in here. Okay, that's about this. So quite key, essential there about business's role. Now, we also have added here, of course, key roles, what they are, what in more detail, what they do, and then how these roles ensure business excellence. Business excellence is one of the identity of the business technology standard. So one of the main, let's say, domain or discipline and identities for demand. And then we also added something called enterprise architect roles, which how enterprise architecture actually supports business excellence, regardless if it's a capability planning or if it's a ideas to concept type of demand. Very good. Then if you have, by the way, any questions at any time, please just raise them in the chat and my colleagues will pick them up for us. All right, so in this book, you also, or guide, you also have the demand types. So we talking about 4 types of demand. So capability planning, ideas and concepts, increments, improvements, service changes. And then we also will be adding, once we renew it, the service request as one of the demand categories. So these are focused on, sorry, now it has disappeared on me. Has the sharing as well disappeared?
No, the sharing is fine.
Okay. So there we have the types of demand, and then if we look into those, these are explained in more detail as well here. Then you can go and see what are capability plannings, what's ideas and concepts, what is involved in that. We have opened up some of these to give you more as well, the procedures to do it. And then we have described here value streams as well. So value streams as one of the main sort of enabler for demand, because they are essentially what we call the, well, you're able to, if you have, for example, here, if you have a small organization that has quite straightforward demands, then it's not too overwhelming. But when you have like different sort of demands coming in, then it becomes, the initiatives becomes quite overwhelming to handle. And in the end, if it's always handled in an enterprise level portfolio, it becomes a bottleneck. And that's why we have the value streams, which what they do is essentially the approach is to have a value stream that will be handling their own type of demand. And let's say if you are a business or if you have some sort of experience value stream and like customer experience or employee experience, this type of value stream, then you're able to have those focus on those type of demand only. And what is beautiful about this value stream is, of course, something called the planning collective. And planning collective is like a virtual entity that will have different kind of people, different stakeholders for that sort of demand that you're looking into, or that sort of area that you're looking into. For example, if you have an organization that would have ABC and focus on A type of business or B type of business, it could be a platform, it could be ERP, for example, it could be a strategy that you're focusing on your value stream, in your value stream. Then this planning collective, there could be many of them under a value stream that will focus on certain things. So their job is to have development vision, to context and dynamics, to develop initiatives, and to come up with development initiatives or proposals towards the end-to-end flow. So if I explain what is then the planning collective, I can have an example here. If these are the value streams, you say A, B, C here, and one of your value stream is called employee experience. And under that, you can create different planning collectives. And these planning collectives here, for example, employee onboarding, development and growth, well-being and support. So this kind of example, just so that it's generic and everyone maybe can understand this kind of example, then you see that there are four planning collectives in here, and they all have the same approach and way of working on introducing or producing these kind of development initiatives that will then move forward. And they're using roadmaps and backlogs regardless of whether or not they are run as agile projects or normal traditional projects. So that's what they do before it goes into the development team. So that's sort of like shortly what planning collective is. And then if we look into a part of what a planning collective does is help do the business design. So in the planning collective, they'll be doing business design within that demand planning. And if you remember, demand planning is the first part of the demand discipline before it becomes before it goes to demand management. So now we're talking about this part here, demand planning. And business design is done within that part. And what does it mean? Well, when you start off sort of like the demand planning, you have your organization's business rationale. So what is the business logic behind your organization? And from there, you would derive a context map for your different capabilities, for example, or what you want to develop. And from there, you would identify the different linkage or elements that link and interact between those elements. And then you would be able to describe that capability a bit more. With that done, that is a part of the human-centric approach, essentially. After you do that, you're able to have different roles. For example, you can add that to a roadmap, or then you can continue doing that once you have the development initiative approved. Then you can continue with user journeys and so on. So if I show you now how that goes, if I go here, that is what the business logic would look like. And here you can see that this approach is actually a human-centered planning approach, which is an approach that comes from the BT standard and how you can easily engage your business. And this is a key thing here. How do you engage business in this kind of design and business design where they are actually owning the item instead of getting, let's say, a lot of bureaucracy about getting their ideas forward and so on. So within an organization, you can easily facilitate this type of approach where business just needs to give input, and then you are able to move forward and trust the process, so to speak. So you can actually have a very straightforward, simple way to engage the business. Our roles within this business is very good to know. So you have, again, like I mentioned, the business analyst, so they are in the key role here, but you may also have like solution architects, data leads, and of course the enterprise architect that could help and guide this kind of capability planning in this scenario. So that being said, what is then the human-centered approach here? And that we are talking about this kind of pre-process. So like I mentioned before, this business rational, then you have the business development roadmap, dev initiatives, and so on. So within that, until you get to the user journey, that's essentially, you can use this human-centered planning approach for that. So it precedes the procedural design. Okay. And within this guide, we also have the governance part. So how does portfolio get involved in the inside the value stream? How do they get the planning collectives different development initiative? If it's a capability planning, that's something that goes towards portfolio 100%. If it's ideas and concepts, it's possible that only 80% goes. If it's increments and improvements, they don't concern themselves more than 40%, for example, in this type of initiatives, this type of demand. And you can see that service changes portfolio doesn't need to know anything about that. Those are just straightforward continuous development type of changes. So this kind of categorization will help you sort of take away the strain and the build up inside your portfolio so that they can actually focus on the right things, right? So it's not the idea that everything goes through that. And how in the BTS, we have a minimum viable governance principle, which essentially means that you're able to have a checklist of how you evaluate this type of initiative or demand so that you're able to also take it forward in a way that is, let's say, simple and not too heavy process wise. So if you look into here, these initiatives will go to, if you have, for example, answered yes to any of these questions, so all of these questions, then yes, you can proceed with your development. If not, then of course you will have to go through portfolios. So this kind of threshold or milestones will enable you to have like a more flexible way of working as well. So more on that in our portfolio management guide also. Then what is quite interesting is this given this sort of process. So if you have like capability planning, ideas and concepts, how do you move forward with them? How do you do planning? So business design, how do you move from business design towards portfolio, towards having your user journey, procedural design? And then in BTS, of course, since we have adaptable methodology for development, we have three types of development where you can say that you can develop it with the project or gate-based methodology, or you can do it agile-based methodology. They all start the same way, and you can choose. If you choose before, like during the demand phase, let's say, what kind of development methodology you'll already do, then it will give you the flexibility to actually plan better your resourcing and your business commitment and how much time you want the business to be involved and how you take it forward. So each of these will be using the same artifacts, which are the roadmaps and the backlogs, regardless of whether or not it's a project, in this case, gate-based, or if it's a sprint-based development. So here you can see their business case, project plan for the capability planning. Then if you're doing ideas and concepts, which mainly are essentially agile development, then you can talk about business cases and epics and so on. So this kind of concepts are within this guide to give you a little bit more instructions and guidance on how that is
And
done.
actually,
And then we
Elena,
have
we
the
have a
roles.
question in the
Perfect.
chat before we move forward
All right.
about prioritization and governance. So
Okay.
how do the financial decisions and control connect to this demand model?
Yes. So we have actually we should probably be more put it more here, but inside this portfolio you would have artifacts as like financial plans and so on that is already evaluated quite early enough. Now I don't have the picture here with me, but when you do this kind of financial planning, you'd have to do it early enough before, for example, you evaluate it before it goes to development. So this at this point here. And then you have the chance to also do it a bit later. But hold on, let me just perhaps show this one. It's more obvious. I want to show this picture here. So if you look at this, we have development initiative, development request. Between these and during those time, you can actually do a financial, let's say, when you do business commitment, you can do the financial planning at the same time here. I don't know if that answered your questions. Do we get a follow-up, or is that
Not yet
clear?
in the chat, but I think we have a little opportunity to come back to this still before we finalize. So please, Elena, continue.
Yeah, but actually, I'm pretty much done with this. We have here the roles, different roles that you can read about what responsibilities they have, and then there's an appendix that has some extra material which will be finalized, and then before we distribute this user journey design, how that looks like. It's an example of how you can do the user journey design, and this is also an AI based procedure or like guide. So we have like 8-step user journey design, which will give you let's say a path to go forward towards the user story, which can be used already directly by the development team. So that's a very nice linkage from the design, business design towards the development, essentially. Yeah, but I think that now is a good time to take questions, Lotta.
Yes, and also while allowing anyone to post questions there, I will just briefly invite you to our home, so managebt.org website. And like there was this excellent question from Jukka. Let's play it through Otso. Let's see what Otso would reply to us related to that. So here, actually, anyone can access the AI bot. And this AI bot is focusing entirely on the business technology standard content. So let's see what Otso would reply to us related to this. So he would focus, like Elena, you mentioned, on the fact that the financial control is tightly linked to the demand planning and demand management. And then he presents concrete, how to say, not artifacts, but concrete themes where manifests. So in the financial steering and financial transparency and planning, as well as cost transparency, and then feasibility analysis and business case development, for example. So this is one purpose that you could rely on also when you have these that, hey, I haven't figured out how this or that actually interconnects, or how this is, say, for example, portfolio management from project management or something like that. How are those two different? So then you could run those through Otso here, for example. And then if we have a look at,
that's a very nice test.
yeah, then if we have a little bit of look at what else is here. So the capability model, which is on the front page here, you can click on any of these cards and then read more deeply into the content. And then you also have the operating model picture and the role model picture here on the front page, as well as an overview of what the Business Technology Forum is about. But then on a more practical side still, you will find the business technology standard downloads, news and updates, as well as these webinar recordings. So you would find the past recordings over here, as well as the training opportunities that were mentioned. So this one then, next one available would be on the 17th of March in Malaga. This is also downloadable on the website. So if you prefer paper over reading on your screen, so it is possible also to download it, the entire content, 100 pages or so, on this website. But I think, Elena, was that most of our content for today? And deep dive into the, yes, there is still a question from Thomas Müller that could you please briefly deep dive into the topic of how to qualify to become a BTS coach? So that was from the training path that we had a look at in the beginning. So let's have a look at that. Over here. Okay, so the starting point here is to complete the Business Technology Standard Green Card, and that can be requested from info at the btforum.org. So then you will gain access to the Green Card online test, and that is free of charge. So no fee is included with that. So that is the first step when becoming a business technology standard coach. Then you would also need the Business Technology Foundation, so the foundation level practitioner qualification, as well as the deep dive practice session. And these are, correct me, Elena, if I'm wrong, but these are compiled together at the same training session in Malaga, for example.
Yes, so these 2 days are essentially done together, but the first day is about the foundation, which you will learn about all the guides through the different highlights posters, and then the second day you have the opportunity to actually deep dive into the topics that you would like to do. So you can do one of these different topics during that day.
So quite easy. First, you would study through the Business Technology Standard, pass the Green Card test, then enroll to the Business Technology Standard Foundation, as well as the deep dive practice session. And then you would gain the Business Technology Standard coach level qualification. And with that, also access to the extension materials, such as the demand management.
Yeah, actually, the BTS coach level has its own 2 day training. So but you will only, like Lotta said, you will, after your practitioner, you can then enroll to the BTS coach, and after that training, you'll be able to get the coach level certification.
Yes, so two and 2 days. Then, okay. Okay, so then that answered, Thomas, your question, that then it's the BTS coach level qualification after the BT operating model designer course.
No, so the designer, just to clarify to Thomas, the designer has been now is the BTS coach level. So if you want the BTS coach level, we believe we will come back to you again with that, how you can do that. But there is a qualification test that you can do. So there's a separate practitioner test, but then we have a BTS coach test. And if you're a designer already, you have eligibility to actually take the test and no need to go through another training session. That's probably clarifying.
Yes, thumbs up for that. Good. But hey, with that, our time at this Wednesday webinar has come to an end. So I'd like to thank you, Elena, and thank you everyone at the audience, and wish you a really, really nice continuation to the day. And looking forward to the next webinar with you.
Thanks, Lotta. Bye, everyone.